welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, Sub-Saharan African Skills and Apprenticeship Stakeholders Network, that is SASASNET Skills and Apprenticeship Conference, is just about getting on the way. And to discuss more about that conference, we have in the studios three guests. First, let's welcome Professor Idris Bugaje, Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education, NBTE. Professor Bugaje, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
He's also the interim chairman of SASASNET. That's a mouthful there. Also here with us in the studios, it's Honorable Usman Sila. He's the General Secretary of SASASNET.
From the Gambia.
Well, it's from the Gambia, all the way from the Gambia. Banjul, I imagine. Yes, we're glad to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
That's right. Okay.
And we also have Engineer Suleiman Muhammad Yusuf, Director of Vocational Technical and Skills Development, National Board for Technical Education. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, so let's begin with the Executive Secretary of NBTE, who is also the interim chair of the Sub-Saharan African Skills and Apprenticeship Stakeholders Network. What is this network all about before we get into your conference that is coming up?
Thank you very much. This network was established for English-speaking Sub-Saharan Africa in order to bring all stakeholders on board so that we can have a common front to address the challenges of skills development in Africa, and especially apprenticeship systems. If you go through every major city in Africa, in Nigeria, Gambia, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Kenya, all through up to South Africa, you'll have a lot of informal skill sector. Go to Apo Mechanic Village, it's a roadside thing. Go to Panteka in Kaduna, go to Araria Market in Aba, go to Computer Village. This is a very latent potential which Africa is not harnessing. So we felt there is need to bring all stakeholders on board, government, organized private sector, labor unions, all of them, so that we can work together towards reinventing this informal sector, bringing it, upgrading the technology being used, introduce certification for the skills training, and this way we are going to now, meet probably the skills labor deficit that we are facing today. Dangote refinery, celebrated refinery, probably prematurely commissioned last May. They imported over 11,500 Indian skilled labor. If we had, organized our informal subsector, we could have generated some thousands of skilled labor to fit into that project. The AKK gas pipeline, the same story. The upcoming $25 billion Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, which will take Nigerian gas to Europe. If care is not taken, the same thing will be repeated. So that's why we said, let us mobilize sub-Saharan African countries. Let us try to put our house in order. Let us compare notes. Let us adopt a common occupational standard so that with migration of labor, which is coming up very soon through the African Free Trade Zone, we need to have some common framework. So we are working towards that. We are working towards upscaling the informal sector, empowering them, improving their output, certifying them, and creating a common African standard, at least among the English-speaking countries, because the French-speaking countries are already doing it very well. If you go to Abuja here, any of those construction sites you go, the best tilers, the best POPs, the best finishers are from Benin and Togo. Because the French-speaking African countries have organized their system very well. They have formalized a lot of the informal sector. But in Nigeria and other English-speaking countries, there is a lot of inertia to do that.
Why do you think that it's so? Do you think it's because we've concentrated more on paper qualification and
that's the main challenge. That's the main challenge. We have focused more on paper qualification all through since independence. While French-speaking African countries, they have realized the value of skills. They have organized, a standard training program for their youth, and they have been even exported across to other parts of the world.
Okay.
So there is need really to re-engineer that sector for Africa's overall socio-economic development.
Professor Idris Bugaje, thank you very much. I'm sure our viewers can feel you
Your passion.
And it's worrisome to learn that the Dangote refinery had labor imported into the country, technical labor. Inevitably, as the point is, and so we have capital flight arising from that. So, you're having this conference. Give us some insight into what the conference is all about. I'm talking about Usman Sila.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us to the studio to talk about this newly formed continental organization called SASASNET. Perhaps a little bit of history. It all started in Cotonou when we were invited, the whole of Africa, by the development partners, World Bank, ILO, to talk about the informal sector. How do we formalize it? And that at the end of the meeting, we realized that there is a deficit in terms of the English-speaking countries in Africa coming together, having a system in place that seeks to upgrade and enhance the informal sector. So after realizing that, because we've realized that our similarities are more than our differences. The reality, the professor is talking about Nigeria, is also in the Gambia. You would have some tasks that you need experts coming from outside to come and do it. If it is Africans, that's fine. But the sad thing is that in more often than not is from outside of Africa that such skills are coming from. So we felt that there is need to have a network so that we will accompany our countries that to promote. We're going to promote, coordinate, and support skills and apprenticeship in Africa, both the informal and the formal sectors. So we have about 17 African countries so far that are being part of the network from English-speaking Africa. We're hoping to increase it. In fact, we're just starting. We want to level up with the French, like as indicated by the professor, that for them they are more organized than, or relatively organized than us. So how do we up ourselves? But we are also open, our doors are open for non-English speaking African countries like the Lusophone, countries like Angola, Mozambique, Equatorial Guinea Spanish. So even at some point we want to come to a stage where when we level ourselves to the standard, we can form a merger. So we can have a Pan-African sort of a network. But for the time being, this is what our reality requires, and this is what we are doing. We are responding to the times. And let me just emphasize that the talent is, we have latent talent among young people. There's demographic dividend. We are not taking advantage of it. How do we help them develop skills? Those who have skills, how do we upgrade it? We have a system called, an approach called RPL, recognizing their skills, but formalizing it, giving them certificates. So this SASASNET is coming to solve a problem, and we are going to be a game changer. That's our objective. We want to be a game changer. We want to change the system, the reality on the ground, so that the skills that we have that are latent in the continent will enhance them, and then ensure that our young people, there's this incentive for them going to Europe through this perilous journey. In the Gambia we call it back way, and then it's just suicidal. When everything is in Africa, what they are going for there, that is created, part of it comes from here. Yes. So why don't we, the potential is here. So SASASNET is really coming to be a game changer. And for the time being, we have support and goodwill from governments, from operators, all the stakeholders in the countries, member countries that we have identified and are part of the process. So we are here in Nigeria. By the way, he's no longer the interim, he's the chairperson. He's elected, confirmed. Okay. It was done on Thursday. And myself too, just last evening, I was also serving as interim secretary general, but the appointment is, mine is appointment is confirmed by the executive last night.
So, congratulations.
So these are substantive positions now.
Congratulations. So you both were placeholders.
Yeah, so now you are now at the center of the table. Yes. Now let's bring in Suleiman Mohammed. Let's look at the theme for this conference, which is Skills, Agenda and Apprenticeship System in the Development of Sub-Saharan Africa. Tell us, what will this conference explore?
Thank you very much. It's going to bring about the promotion of skills and apprenticeship across the English-speaking sub-Saharan Africa. We all believe now that skills is the global currency of labor. So if we have these latent potentials, why can't we develop them? Why can't we give them standard certification? Why can't we give them recognized qualification that would enable them move across the shores of Nigeria, Africa, to gain engagement or employment with the employment window available outside. So this is going to be truly a game changer, whereby we are no more going to allow our young people to be moving across Sahara without the recognized skills. If they have a skills, they have certification recognized, they can be welcome wherever they go with red carpet.
Yeah, yes.
You know, sorry, I know, Juma, I will say this because when there are some annual events, for instance, like the pilgrimages, and it is doubtful that the citizens of those countries provide all the skilled labor required for facilitating those pilgrimages, whether at the holy sites in Mecca or in Rome or in Jerusalem. You have labor that is engaged. So how do we fit into that? I believe that's part of the matrix that we're looking at. But, Professor Bugaji, it's an issue we have encountered on Good Morning Nigeria. What we're actually talking about now is the failure of technical education. Where did we get it wrong for us in Nigeria?
Well, I think we got it wrong immediately after independence. You remember in 1947, the Yabo College of Technology was established. 1956, Kaduna Polytechnic was established, and they were focused in developing skilled manpower. Technical colleges well equipped during colonial days, but today those colleges are a shadow of themselves. If you go to a technical college, the first thing you see is a broken gate. When you enter, a leaky roof, archaic equipment that doesn't work, students that are disenfranchised, basic wood and metal to teach them basic skills not available. This is the challenge. We abandoned technical and vocational education and training in Nigeria. We focused on university, qualifications, the so-called ivory tower syndrome. That was what really created the problem. And now we are paying a heavy price for that, in the sense that today Nigeria is importing skilled labor from across the world. Asia is exporting labor. You have mentioned pilgrimage. Bangladesh, I visited them just a few months ago. They were exporting over 11.5 million labor across the world. 2.5 million in Saudi Arabia. Construction sites, pilgrimage sites, everywhere. If you go to Morocco, Morocco is exporting labor in hundreds of thousands every year. I visited them 4 years ago. 500,000 youth were engaged in skills training. I saw an electric car 4 years ago in Morocco, and I asked the instructors, why are you training students on an electric car when I did not see any electric car on your streets? They told me, look, we're not training for our local market only. We're training for export. Anytime Renault brings a new model, they will immediately send it to us before they even start marketing it, so that we can train young Moroccans on how to manage that car, and we can export that labor. And all the youth, we ask questions. When you finish, many were saying will go to Germany, some will go to Saudi Arabia, some will go to Dubai. They were so much motivated. We have abandoned technical vocational education, but there is hope. I've seen that the new government has made TVET one of its major pillar. I think it's pillar number 4.
Yes.
And that's a major remarkable shift. And if this thing is sustained with sincerity, I think Nigeria will come back on track. Nigeria will start, empowering the youth with skills. Nigeria will start exporting labor. Export of labor has even given India political advantage. The Prime Minister of UK is now an Indian. Somebody asked a question, when did British rule ended in India, they said 1948. When did Indian rule started in Britain? 2022. Because that was the time a skilled labor exported previously has now become a prime minister. In the United States, export of skilled labor has created a vacancy for them. They have now a sitting vice president, originally from India. Nigeria and other African countries can really rule the world through skills export. It is not going to be a brain drain. It will not be. It will be a brain gain. In the sense that if you take big economies like Turkey, it's the 17th largest economy in the world. If you go to Germany, more than 10% of the skilled labor in Germany are of Turkish origin. They have acquired those skills. They are now going back to Turkey to build industries. I have seen the Mercedes-Benz shock absorber plant in Turkey near Istanbul. Every shock absorber for Mercedes across the world is made in Turkey. Because they have gone there, they have acquired the skills, they have understood the standards, and now they are applying them in their own country. Nigeria can do the same. So really the skills can be a game changer. And I would like government to invest more. I would like the private sector to invest more. And any private sector that imports skill should be penalized.
You know, Professor Bugaji, Jumai, thanks. You and I like soccer.
Yes.
He was talking about Turkey and Germany. Ozil, you know Ozil?
Yeah.
Ozil, he played for Arsenal. Yeah. And he also played for the German national team, amongst the World Cup winners, originally from Turkey.
Originally from Turkey. Let's bring Osman here. You know, it's said that civilization started from Africa, and most of these things we see in Europe and were constructed by black Africans. And do you think it is now time for Africans to come together on the same table to share ideas so that the country can move forward and not just be an importer of labor and stop the Japa syndrome that we have in Nigeria? Once they get the skills, they get out and, you know, go to work in other countries for better pay. So how can this conference we are having bringing young people on board and ensure that they get what is worth?
Well, thank you very much. In fact, that is the essence of SASASNET, that we realize Africa's potential. We realize that Africa can only benefit from its potential if it comes together, if African countries come together. We have shared the same experience in terms of colonialism, in terms of slavery, and the challenges, post-independent challenges. The similarities, like I said, we have more similarities than differences. Yeah. So how do we harmonize? SASASNET is coming to bring that closeness so that we'll have a common approach, a common perspective based on our common experience, our common past, so that we'll head to the future, to our destination collectively. And we can only do that by establishing networks of this nature where everybody comes on board. We share experiences. Nigeria has strength in some areas, weaknesses in certain areas. Gambia has strength in some areas, weaknesses in certain areas. So how do we sit around a table to discuss, see those that are more endowed, how they can support those that are less endowed to come up. And in fact, like they said, we may not call it brain drain. We can organize ourselves in such a way that the skills, part of it can stay to develop our countries, to develop our economies. We can also export it in an organized manner, because now you see this skill exportation sometimes, you know, does not benefit the skilled workers, the middle persons. There are intermediaries who benefit more from it. Yes. And in fact, there are even scammers. So, but how do you organize it? The state can come, government, we can encourage, because for us, our role is going to be advocating, supporting. We are going to accompany governments, and we hope they'll be giving us their listening ears. In fact, they are part of the process. They are integral in SASASNET, all the governments. Okay,
so the conference, give us an idea, dates and level of participation on location.
It's starting today. In fact, it started like last Thursday when we had our elections, our first General Assembly of members, where we elected our executive. Professor Bugaji, who has been very instrumental from day one, is confirmed as the substantive chairperson of SASASNET. And the other, we have vice presidents from the 4 regions of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and by the way, sub-Saharan Africa. And we also have other executive holders, including the Secretary General. And then yesterday we had the first executive committee meeting, inaugural meeting, where we consider, we constitute the executive formally, and then started to chart the way forward. What do we need to do? We've done that. We have a clear perspective now as to what we want to do, how we are going to do it. So we have that. Yeah. So, and then today we're going to kick off the event. That is the formal launch. Okay. Where the Vice President, His Excellency Qasim Shatima, is invited to do the official inauguration, and that is going to be a 2-day workshop where we have presenters of papers within and outside of Nigeria, but Africa. The ILO is also supporting the process, the World Bank supporting the process, GIZ, German Development based in Nigeria, is also supporting the process, and NBT is integral. Yeah. In fact, they are the caution.
Okay, we are running out of time. Briefly, in 30 seconds, are state governments keen into
this state governments are
in 30 seconds?
Yeah, we have what we call the National Stakeholders Committee. So under that, we have the federal government, the state governments coming on board and trying which role they can play, because state governments have to reinvent their technical colleges. Okay. That's the foundation for creating skills. State governments also have to take census of the informal apprenticeship programs that are taking place and what intervention they need to give. Improve the infrastructure, the road and electricity supply, improve the equipment available to those, just like what Abia State government did to Araria Market. Before, Araria Market was full of cobblers, but today shoes made in Araria can be exported across the world.
They've been sold
and
in
people
Italy,
even believe they are being made in Italy.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we wish you all the best at the conference, and we hope that this will bring more, innovation to the country and develop Africa as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Professor Idris Bugaji, Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education. He is also the Chairman, Sub-Saharan African Skills and Apprenticeship Stakeholders Network, SASASNET. Thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Honorable Usman Sila, Secretary General, Sub-Saharan African Skills and Apprenticeship Stakeholders Network. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. We also have in the studio Engineer Suleiman Mohammed Yusuf, Director of Vocational Technical and Skills Development, National Board for Technical Education, MBTE. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Wish you all the best. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks so much for being part of it. Join us tomorrow for another edition.
Look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley.
Now, I'm Jumai Yusuf.